was a good game.
Oh, hi everybody.
Hey.
We were just tidying up after having some fun together. I wonder how you like to have fun with your friends. What do you like to do together?
Is it table tennis, football,
Colouring in, building things?
music?
There are so many different ways we can have fun with our friends.
How does hanging out and playing with your friends make you feel? In fact, how do you know how your friend feels when you're hanging out and playing?
I think the more time you spend together, the easier it becomes to tell how people are feeling.
That's true, you get to read them.
You can look at their facial expressions, you can see how they're using their body. And sometimes they might just tell us if we're really good friends. We have got a fun challenge for you today. We have asked our friend Mike to help us guess what emotions he is feeling. So why don't you watch now and see if you can work out exactly how Mike's feeling.
Mike, over to you.
Most of the time when we're with our friends, we feel happy. But what about when one of you feels sad, upset, anxious or worried, or is going through a difficult or troubled time? What do you do then? What do your friends do? There are many stories of friendship in the Bible, but one of the most well-known friendships in the Old Testament is that of Jonathan and David, a friendship that lasted through troubled times. Jonathan and David were the very best of friends who cared deeply for each other. Jonathan was King Saul's son. David had been a shepherd boy, but was now working for Jonathan's father as a musician and soldier. King Saul loved David very much and gave him a lot of attention. That might have made Jonathan, Saul's own son, really jealous, but it didn't. Instead, they became close friends. "Let's make a promise to be friends, whatever may happen," Jonathan said to David. He gave David his robe, as well as some of his most precious belongings, his sword, bow and belt, as a sign that their friendship would last through good times and bad. That promise was soon to be put to the test. David was a better soldier and leader than Saul, and people loved him, which made Saul very angry and jealous. So much so that he became obsessed with getting rid of David. One day, Saul ordered Jonathan and all his servants to kill David. Jonathan was horrified. David was his best friend. Even though he was disobeying his father, Jonathan ran to warn David. "My father Saul is trying to kill you. Stay somewhere safe and hide. I'll talk to my father about you." Jonathan bravely spoke to his father, praising David and persuading him to forget his threat. "David hasn't done anything wrong," he said. "In fact, he has really helped you as a soldier, and you were happy with him. Why have you now threatened to kill him for no reason?" Saul listened to Jonathan and promised that he wouldn't do anything to harm David. David was able to stop hiding and go back to work for Saul because Jonathan spoke up for him and protected him. But it didn't last for long. Once again, Saul became extremely jealous of David and threatened him. David managed to escape and then went to find Jonathan to tell him. Once again, Jonathan was prepared to protect his friend. David was very upset. Jonathan listened to him and tried to comfort him, telling him that his father wouldn't try to do anything to David without telling him first, and so he would be able to stop it. Jonathan promised to help David and said, "I'll do anything you want me to do." David knew that with Saul acting in this wild way, his friend could be in danger, but he was desperate. Together they agreed that while David hid again, Jonathan would find out if his father was planning to harm him, and if he was, Jonathan would warn David and help him to get away safely. Jonathan said to David, "If you have to go away, remember the promise we have made to each other to be friends. The Lord will make sure that we will keep it forever." David assured Jonathan that he would keep his promise, and the two best friends hugged. They quietly sat together for a while, thinking about their friendship and what might happen now, before Jonathan returned to his father and David hid again. The next day, Jonathan was eating dinner with Saul when his father noticed David was missing and asked where he was. Jonathan answered, "David begged me to let him go to Bethlehem. That is why he has not come to the king's table." Then Saul became very angry with Jonathan. He said, "I know you are on the side of David. You bring shame on yourself. As long as David lives, you'll never be king or have a kingdom. Now send for David and bring him to me. He must die." Bravely, Jonathan asked his father, "Why should David be killed? What wrong has he done?" At that, Saul flew into such a rage that he threw his spear at Jonathan. Jonathan realized that his father really wanted to kill David. Jonathan was very upset and angrily left the table. The next morning, Jonathan went to where David was hiding and told him what Saul had done and would do. The two friends knew they must go their separate ways and never see each other again. They hugged each other and cried together, but David cried the most. Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace. We have promised by the Lord that we will be friends. We said, 'The Lord will be a witness between you and me and between our descendants forever.'" Then with great sorrow, David left and Jonathan went back to the town. David went through some very troubling times, but Jonathan was always there for him, even though at times it put his own life in danger. Can you remember what Jonathan did for David? Jonathan and David cared for each other and looked after each other. We mostly hear about what Jonathan does for David, but we can imagine that David would do the same for Jonathan. When David is in hiding, Jonathan goes to see him because he is concerned about him. We find out that Jonathan listened to David and his worries, but maybe Jonathan also comforted David by giving him a hug, or just sat quietly with him, letting him know he was there for him.
Dear God, thank you for our friends who are with us in difficult times. Thank you for their kindness, their listening ears, and their care.
And help us to be good friends, to know what to do and when. Thank you that you are a good friend in troubled times who is there to care and to listen. Amen.
Amen.